welcome back to Vicky Talks Everything. I'm extremely happy to see you here. If you haven't bought a friend by now, I'm wondering, like, am I doing something wrong? At this point, you should be telling, dragging that friend of yours, oh my gosh, you should listen to this and, gain from it on that you're new, on your plan to get to school and things like that. That's what you should be telling your friends right now. If you haven't done that, we need to have a conversation in DMs. But it's great to see you again, all 140 something of you. Thank you so much to everyone who's subscribed. I feel like every single time I post a video, I get so many great feedback. I get so many great responses from you guys, comments and the likes, and it just blows my mind. Thank you. Please never stop doing that. Like, it's the best thing you could do for me as a person. Thank you so much I would say that's the only reward you can give me, basically, for this amazing advice I'm giving to you. So please do not stop that. Today, I really want to talk about, don't mind the fact that I'm sitting. A girl has been tired and working all week. I literally had a presentation this week and it went well. I mean, I got a high pass, so your girl is killing it in school and killing it on here. But thank you anyways for that. But yeah, so today I really want to talk about something very serious and not that serious at the same time. But I've gotten a lot of questions on it, people trying to understand what it really means and what impact it has on their application. And this is a very big part of like your process, and I would say it's also a very minute part of your process. So basically, as it relates to you, I would say use this information to the very best, way you can use it. Decide how it works best for you, decide what your schedule allows, and work with that basically. Before I get into it, someone emailed me to ask where I get my hair from. That was like the funniest thing ever, but I sell my own hair, right? So if you want to purchase or something, please by all means go on Instagram, go to Vicky's Hair Place. It's basically, I would put that in the chat and also like put it on it should be on the screen as well for you to see. But yeah, let's talk about that in the DMs on Instagram. Here is for really, really important stuff that can impact your life. So basically, we're looking at, standardized tests today. Standardized tests could be the GRE, could be the GMAT, could be the IELTS. And I say they're important and not important because every school has like different dimensions of evaluating their students and every applications they receive, right? I have a couple of friends that are here with me in school who didn't write the GRE or GMAT. They got amazing scholarships and they're thriving here. And I know people as well who got amazing scores, people like me that got amazing scores, did the whole hard work of writing the GRE and are still here, right? So again, and like I've said a couple of times, I repeated this as much as I can. This journey is your journey. It has nothing to do with what someone has done or is doing or is about to do. It is your journey. You take it the exact way it works for you. Do it the way you feel the most comfortable doing it is what I would advise you to do, because it's very easy to get swayed, getting blown differently in different directions by different things you're hearing. So I would recommend, as much as possible, stick to what you know as far as you think it's right and you think it's what the school requires from you, and do that, right? And this is why it's extremely important to sort of like set up communication lines with the admissions committees or whatever school you want to apply to, so that once you have questions you think the internet can't provide an answer for you, just reach out to them. And these admissions guys are always very quick to answer your question and dispel whatever myths they are. So basically, I would start, just in case you see me like glancing down, I have a few notes that I wrote on my laptop just to show you how serious and how prepped it is. This session is going to be for us. So basically, the first myth I want to dispel today is that the GRE or GMAT is basically like any other exam you've taken before. Sister and brother, it is not like that. I promise you. I'm somebody you would call an atypical student, right? Students that are very, dedicated, smart, racing professional exams, graduated with really good GPAs, and I still failed my GRE the first time I wrote it. I'm just saying, it happens to the very best of us, right? And there are people I know who probably weren't the greatest at school and then that wrote it, prepped for it as they should have prepped for it and passed it in one sitting, right? So again, whatever works for you. But that first myth is that, it's like any other exam you've taken before. It's not, I promise you. These are standardized exams that are literally like drafted to sort of like test your critical thinking skills, your analytical writing and problem solving skills. So it's not like your accounting exam where you understand where the debits and credits go and then you sort of like work within those and you have answers, right? It's not like that. So that's number one. Number two, the GRE or GMAT is only important if I want to go to a top ranked school, not necessarily, right? These schools, there's so many like other like aspects to the applications process. There's your essays, there's your letter of recommendations, there's the your work experience, there's your undergrad CGPA, there's other things that have been looked at, there's your resume, right? So it's not like they don't necessarily require it. It's not the main reason why. Say for example, if you get a 740 on the GMAT, it's why you get an admission. There's probably other things in your application that stood out for them and then you got an admission. There's people I know who got this amazing scores and then get into the schools that they applied to. It happens, right? So remove that thought from your head that, oh, once you get a high GRE score, that's all that you need to do and then you pass and you get interviews. It's not like that half the time, right? So the third thing is you only need to focus on the GRE or GMAT section if you want to do well. Oh Lord, you will be shocked. I used to think I was a guru in English until I was humbled by the GRE. I even did better on the math than the GRE, the English part. So please do not make that mistake. You need to balance both parts. There's different parts to English that you probably would think is easy, but it's not that easy because you speak English on a daily basis doesn't necessarily mean you understand the whole dynamic of the English language, right? So please, as much as possible, do not like go in there with a very open mind and expect the same level of difficulty for both. That is my advice for you. Extremely important that you devote the same studying time to both the math and the English sections, right? The fourth myth basically is that you can't improve your GRE scores significantly. That's a lie. And I say that because once you write the exam, you already have experience. Experience is always the best teacher, right? You get that experience, the fear sort of like reduces from what you had before because basically you're doing the same standard of exams or format of exams. All that is just changing is the questions, right? So that initial fear you had of like the first time you wrote it, it's already gone from your head, right? And you sort of like understand the areas you need to then work towards to sort of like ace this second time you're writing it. It's extremely important that you're learning from the mistakes you made the first time. If it was a timing thing for you, at this point, you know how to, sort of like manage your timing so the exams don't time you out. Because whether or not you finish a section, by the time the timing for that section finishes, you can literally get moved immediately to the next section. So these sections are timed for you to finish in the 3 hour or 4 hour space you have. So extremely important that you know how to manage your time. And if you sort of like worked and maybe made mistakes of like answering the questions wrongly instead of leaving them blank, because some exams sort of fail you or like reduce your points the more wrong answers you give, right? So it's almost as if it's better to leave the answers blank than answering wrongly. So think about it in that dimension and ensure that you have as much accuracy as you can on the questions instead of just answering them randomly and doing making the options. There's something we call it in Nigeria, doing tombo on it. Please don't do that. Thank you. The fifth thing, and it is that the GRE or GMAT is the most important factor in the admissions process. No, it's not. Again, like I said, there are friends of mine who didn't write any of these exams but got into great schools and they got really nice scholarships, right? So I wouldn't claim to know the minds of admissions officers. I wouldn't claim to say that I've done the work before, so I honestly don't know. But I would say that they consider a whole lot of other things. And when they say they consider everything, they consider everything. That's how it is in the US. And I would say they're a bit true to their word as well. If they say they are considering your letters of recommendation, your GPA, your resumes, the essays you've written, your work experience, trust me, everything is looked at holistically. And it's the idea for them is really to say that does this person have the experience to be able to succeed in our program? That's really the question they're trying to answer. Your GRE or GMAT stands out to say that, oh, this person really did great. But then if you don't have the relevant business experience or business skills, or your letters of recommendation or your essays don't show that you have that much grit or like problem solving or critical thinking skills, nobody will want to admit you, because it's not, again, your admission or your postgrads process is not just about your classwork, right? There's team playing, there's leadership, there's a lot of other factors that are being considered. And your admissions or everything you've tendered in, basically your application process, shows them how you sort of like rank in all of those areas, right? So it's extremely critical that you don't see the standardized test as the reason why you don't apply to business school or to master's or your postgrad degree. I said this before, I think in my previous video, that the US doesn't necessarily request for IELTS. A few schools, very few schools do it, but not a lot of them, because the schools you've attended in Nigeria or whatever country you're coming from, most likely you speak English there, right? Unless there are schools where you have to, or you come from a country where English is not necessarily the first language, and then you have to prove that to them. But for most African countries where you speak English, especially Nigeria, where I'm coming from, you don't need to write IELTS or things like that. All you need is a standardized test score if you want to do that. So to just wrap this up, I would say think about it very critically. There are a lot of most people that go into embark on PhD, MBA, or master's programs are most likely people that are in the working space. And your schedule might not just allow you to sort of have the time or the opportunity to study as well as you need to study for these exams. So think about asking for waivers, right? Schools offer GRE or GMAT waivers. Your professional exams that you've taken can stand in for you in this case. So these are the areas where you use these exams you've written to show that you actually have the analytical or critical thinking skills that are required, and that it shouldn't be because of the GRE or GMAT you should be denied an admission, or you think it's basically because you haven't done well, that's why you shouldn't apply, right? If you feel like your GRE or GMAT scores are low, how about you apply without them? Ask for a waiver and apply without them and see what the result is. I would just say that because of my experience, and just one word of advice before we go today is that if you feel like you can't take the GRE or GMAT exams due to time constraints, find other buffers. And the other buffers I'm talking about here is, if you've written a professional exam, write that to them when you're requesting for your GRE or GMAT waiver, right? Tell them you have to sit on a professional exam. The level of work you do literally requires a lot of quantitative reasoning and, analytical thinking on a daily basis, and use this as justifications as to why you should get that waiver, right? Again, getting the waiver doesn't mean they will give you an admission. It might be that you've lacked on a part of your essay, or your letter of recommendations were not strong enough. These are other areas I will cover in a subsequent video. But for now, if you think the standardized exams are the reason why you are not applying to B school, please stop it. Stop it. Draft a letter now and ask for that waiver today if you don't want to write it. If you're going to write it, I recommend 3 months to study. And that's why you need to decide very quickly that you want to go to school, because this is probably the hardest part of the process, right? Getting those standardized exams in. So until next time, think about this very critically. I'm happy to answer any questions you have in the comment section. Thank you again for sticking with me for this 15 minutes. I'm grateful for you. See you next time. Bye-bye.